This time on Watchers of Tomorrow, thieves might have your data right now!
Hello, welcome to Watchers of Tomorrow, the sci-fi review and critique show that is a rare and collectible artifact. It's not fair I can't follow that intro. Like, the cold open was too good, now I have to follow it with something.
Oh, I was going to do a Pokemon gotta collect them all sort of thing instead, but I decided to go with this one.
That one's better. I mean, I can see it. Gotta catch 'em all. Datas. Who's that Starfleet officer? Hey, I am Gepwin. I'm joined as always by my friend and co-host, Dr. Isix.
Hi!
And this week, the jokes will only make sense if you know we're doing The Most Toys, which is the episode where Data gets kidnapped by a guy who wants to collect him as an artifact.
Indeed.
So, like, if you didn't know which episode it was, or you didn't know the plot of the episode, now hopefully some of those jokes were funny.
Well, I guess we'll have to wait for the feedback to see how things go.
Laugh. Lots of laughs in the beginning, and then immediate drop off on the engagement because we stopped being interesting.
Drat.
So this episode was written by one Sorry Goodhearts. This is the first of 3 episodes she will write for Next Gen, the other 2 being Night Terrors and Violations. She went on to work for a lot of cartoons like Gargoyles, The Phantom 2040, and Young Hercules. Also worked on a direct-to-video Dragonheart sequel called A New Beginning, which I got so excited about when I was younger, because like Dragonheart was such a cool movie that was so not great, and I was like, oh, there's a sequel, the dragons are cool, and then it was even worse.
Yeah. I kind of enjoyed in the sort of like, this is obviously not a very good movie, but it's kind of in that fun, campy, so bad it's good thing for me. So, yeah.
It is. It's also weirdly close to the plot of Dragon's Dogma.
Which I've not played.
The dragon chooses somebody to like get the heart of, and then they become a mortal super being.
Which is also, I guess, in some ways similar to a book I just read that I didn't much care for.
Oh, no.
So I don't want to get too distracted by it. Anyway.
Yeah, so this episode is not about dragons, even a little bit.
Alas.
But if there were dragons, they probably would have been collected as rare, awesome things.
Wrote for Ian Flux and Bonkers.
There's got to be at least one Star Trek extended media thing with dragons where they go to the dragon planet.
Well, they have been referenced a few times. There's the one Enterprise episode where DePaul's like messing with people and it's like, you know, because they're not paying attention. It's like, then there's this one planet where there's been large reptilian flying beasts that breathe fire.
Which just suggests that that's not real.
And of course, in Lower Decks, the Renfair planet, they probably have engineered themselves up a dragon or two.
Yeah. And there was like the dragon something thing on the second time they went to the vacation planet.
It's like, we're going to have tea party now.
The animated series. Yeah. When you can animate stuff, that's fine. Yeah.
Exactly. So, Star Trek, do more animated stuff so you can have more dragons. Go for it.
They should. The animated stuff was their best show, and they're like, yep, 4 seasons and it's canceled because we're following the Netflix model.
Damn Netflix model.
Oh, we have guest stars. We have several guest stars. I'm only going to do the main ones as always, but this is still a little bit of a bottle episode, so there's not that many guest stars.
Yes, yeah, and so, you know, we got Cole Meany, of course, and then...
Yeah, I'm not going to be able to pronounce this guy's very, very Russian-y name. So we've got Nimia Persov. I'm sorry, that's as close as I'm going to be able to get.
I think it's pretty close.
Who plays Paylor Toff, who is a side character, but I wanted to mention him because this guy's cool. Persov has been acting since the 40s. He's been in a lot of stuff. His first role was in the noir called The Naked City,
I'm curious.
He's best known probably for playing the antagonist in Some Like It Hot, which is getting a lot of attention because it got that cool, very trans stage play. He also had roles in Al Capone, The Greatest Story Ever Told. More recently to this era, he was in the comedy Twins.
Yes.
And he starred as the voice of Papa Mouskowitz in American Tail.
Yes. Like several of them. Like, because there's also Five Goes West and The Treasure Manhattan Island and The Mystery of Night Monster.
Yeah, the ones that weren't that good.
Yeah.
But I don't know why. I was obsessed with Five Goes West, even though it's a very bad movie, probably because I lived in the Southwest. It's like, this place has cactus. Not a lot of stuff has cactus.
Yeah. Bad Cats. The Word. And of course, way back in the day, I have to keep scrolling through my list because I saw it earlier. Not Shirley Temple's Storybook. That's also apparently a thing, but
still going. This guy's career started in the 40s, so
the most important show of all time, the Kaiser Aluminum Hour.
Yeah, but yes, he's been working so long, the shows didn't have names.
Yes.
Who the heck knows what that was about?
It's probably another one of those anthology things, but I could read up more, but just like the Kaiser Aluminum. I guess there's a Kaiser Aluminum company out there somewhere. Maybe
got bought out by something and something and something, and is now like, I don't know, owned by whoever makes tinfoil.
Yes. Ooh, the Wild Wild West.
Oh, the original?
Yeah,
the one that wasn't bad?
Yeah. Yeah, this guy's been in
also, yeah, this is the problem when I'm trying to summarize someone's career that lasted 80 years. So I also have Jane Daly as Vara. She began in the pageant world. She was a Mrs. Teenage Miami and a finalist for Miss Teenage America. Probably best known, interestingly, for the low-budget horror cult film Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things.
That's a bit of a title?
Yeah. Also an early film role in the horror movie Death Dream.
Death Dream. Also in random things like The Black Marble, Amy, and Saint Elsewhere.
And some sort of series called Roomies.
Huh. Oh, she also rejoins Riker here, Christopher Franks here, with Beyond Belief, Fact or Fiction.
Oh my God, really?
Yes. Sorry, Jonathan Franks. Yes.
Hey, have you seen that show? Because recently I was just randomly watching some old TV with some friends, and that show came on, and we had never actually seen an episode of that beyond all of the just memes.
Yeah, it is very meme worthy. Even beyond the stuff that just Franks. It's like, yeah, this is a kind of unbelievable story. Even the supposedly true ones.
But the thing that gets me is they do this dramatization unbelievable story. This woman saw a ghost in her garage. And then at the end, they just go, yeah, true. And give you no additional context or information.
So apparently ghosts are real now? Or is it somebody in a sheet?
Yeah, so you can have the weirdest thing that doesn't explain itself is obviously pretty inexplicable and unbelievable. And it's just yeah, that was true.
Really?
I guess look it up yourself, I suppose.
Yeah.
I would enjoy a little bit of additional context for the true story, please.
Yes, that would be nice.
Anyway, I guess they just collected a bunch of stories. See, I can bring it back. I can take it back to. And finally, we have my favorite character actor of all time, Saul Rubinek as Kivas Fajo. I'm not able to summarize his career super well because he was in everything
for a while.
Yeah. He's known for several popular Canadian TV movies that a lot of people in the US would have never heard of. In the 80s, he was in several movies like Against All Odds and Wall Street. He's been in a lot of bit parts and things. He's in several of the best episodes of Outer Limits. He was in like probably one of the most critically acclaimed 2-part episodes of Stargate.
Mm-hmm.
And he finally got to headline a series that I absolutely loved when he got to play the like lead curator dude in the sci-fi original series Warehouse 13.
Indeed. I never got to watch through the totality of that, but I definitely enjoyed it. So
Me either. It got so weird after a while.
well, a show kind of like that kind of needs to.
Eventually, there's some kind of like living guardian whose soul is tethered to the warehouse, and that's why it's protected from supernatural things or something. And
so it's basically the librarians, but a little bit more X-Filesy.
it kind of feels like, from what I've seen of the librarians, it feels like the librarians is basically a spiritual successor.
Yeah. Though, did they come out one after the other, or?
I thought the librarians was a little bit after Warehouse, because Warehouse is a little old at this point.
Yeah.
Warehouse was contemporary with, and apparently in the same setting as Eureka.
Which I suppose,
because they eventually had crossovers.
The super science, but everyone's quiet about it setting.
So, which is just kind of funny, because that means that Eureka, the show about like science that's so advanced it may as well be magic, also exists in a world that has just like literal real magic.
Yes. So maybe the science of Eureka actually just is magic. They just don't want to call it that.
Yeah, it could be.
Yes.
I wish that sci-fi had been able to keep that up, because it was getting into like, DC comic book levels of like, well, we have this guy who works exclusively in tech and this guy who works exclusively in magic. And sometimes they cross over, but they also both don't understand anything the other one does and never mention that science or magic exists when they're alone.
Like maybe they're in massive denial about it. He also played a character in Frasier for like 15 episodes. Like, I don't remember him being in that show.
No, when was I know? I guess I didn't see a lot of Frasier. It wasn't like my favorite show, but still.
Yeah, it's one of those things that like my parents might watch randomly when I was growing up, and it's sort of like, all right. This is on now. I guess I was a teenager at the time, but anyway, he's also in Leverage for a few episodes.
For like two episodes.
Well, one of them was like a 2-parter, but yeah.
So the interesting thing is that is why I started watching Leverage in the first place, because I just searched his name on Netflix to like find random stuff he'd been in, and Leverage popped up, and it's like, oh, cool. And then I didn't realize he was only in the first episode.
Yeah. Well, he comes back later with the revenge plot. It's like, you guys
but
screwed
at
me
that
over.
point, that episode wasn't out yet. So.
Yeah. Spoilers.
So for me, I'm like, I'm going to look up my favorite actor, and then oh, cool, this series looks neat, and it's like, oh, he never shows up again. At least the series is really good.
Yes. So if you ever want to have watch a show about people getting back at the rich and powerful, that's the one for you.
At some point, I wasn't sure where to put it, but at some point in here, I should mention that the tragic part of this episode is part of the background history. Mm-hmm. The reason that Rubenek is cast in this role is because they cast someone else originally as Kivas Farjo, a British actor named David Rappaport, who got so far as filming some parts of the episode before he unfortunately had a suicide attempt partway into filming, and they had to replace him with another actor, like kind of last minute.
Mm-hmm. And so like the makeup for Faggio, was supposed to be a lot more elaborate, but it was made for Rappaport, not Rubenek here. So they had to basically tone it down a lot, in order to make sure they could meet the production all right.
Yeah, probably. I don't even know I haven't seen any pictures of what Rappaport was supposed to look like in the episode. Couldn't find any.
I've seen a clip.
Yeah? Oh, there's a whole clip?
Yeah, they apparently put it out on one of the DVDs at one point as like a special feature.
I'm going to have to find that.
Yeah, I think it's mostly him in the cell at the end. Spoilers. And so the lines are not exactly the same between the recorded version and the original there, but they're pretty close. And it's I guess a different experience as well, because just different actors take the character in a slightly different way and all that.
Yeah, I can't quite imagine it because Rubenek just plays that kind of like overconfident, sleazy asshole so well.
Yeah.
I'll have to find that. It's also interesting. I guess it makes sense they would shoot the stuff at the end first because that's on the existing like Enterprise sets.
Now, I could probably grab you a picture real quick of at least the some of the makeup here.
Yeah, I guess at some point, because this is an audio medium.
Yeah.
One of us should probably describe something we're talking about.
So I just sent Gepwin the image there, and so there's a lot more ear stuff going on, a lot more 80s hair.
This is Trolls.
Yeah.
This is like something between Trolls and Leprechaun.
A little bit, yeah. And
it's skin toned. It's not like green. It's a skin tone.
He's also little persons that may have been where they're going with it, so that's awkward.
Yeah.
But maybe we should go back to what Rappaport has been in, like Time Bandits.
Yeah. He's pretty well known. He was pretty well known around. Time Bandits is awesome.
Yeah. Would Time Bandits technically fit in our wheelhouse here? Because there is some sci-fi
sorta, maybe.
Well, another thing Rappaport was in. He was in Captain Planet and the Planeteers.
Oh, really? Who did he voice?
Mal.
Nice. I loved that show when I was a kid.
Dang, we should use some. We could use some Planeteers right now and Captain Planet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can summon a guy and they like beat up someone who's like trying to give people AIDS.
Yeah.
Real Captain Planet episode.
Yep.
Anyway, if we're back to what we're talking about.
Star Trek.
So, the Enterprise is picking up a shipment of made-up mineral number 8. Tritium.
It's like it's right for your trite.
They're getting it from the trader named Kiras Farjo to take care of some sort of contaminated water situation on a Federation colony. The stuff is super, super unstable, so instead of running it through the transporter, they have to use a shuttle. And Data's doing all the grunt work of flying the shuttle back and forth, even though the ships are way too close to each other for how unstable this stuff seems to be, because they're like 3 feet apart.
It's sort of the sort of range that if you're going to do this, you might as well just dock the ships together, maybe?
Yeah, you may as well just walk.
And I know they don't have the special effects budget for that sort of cool stuff going on here, but come on.
So Farjo's assistant Vera asks Data to give them a thumbprint scan for the last of the shipment, and the pad electrocutes him and stuns him. The workers then scan him to identify a bunch of his base components.
Wait a moment. I know how this goes. They're going to put down a circle on the ground, and they're going to try to bring back their dead android mother.
And that's how Lore was born. Lore is a homunculus.
It would kind of make sense.
The shuttle begins its return to the Enterprise. Everything's normal, right up until the point it blows up for no reason.
Indeed. So, apparently Data's dead.
Yep, that's it.
Yep. Show's over.
I knew that Ren Spiner wanted them to kill off Data for a while. I just didn't know it was this early.
Well, I guess we'll just have to have Brent Spiner come back as, all his various relatives.
Yeah, and then we just have to have him come back as Soon's kid, Soon's grandkid. There's something very wrong with the genetic line of this family.
I actually have a fan theory of sorts that the various Soons are actually just clones of each other.
Well, given that in Enterprise he was like the Soon that made the advanced humans or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think I know that they wanted to get Brent Spiner and everything because he's an amazing actor and he's really fun. But, like, you could have, like, you didn't have to make them all exactly the same guy.
I mean, at least, Daddy soon is, has the old age makeup thing going on later. But anyway.
Yeah. But, like, they use the same actor for multiple characters all the time in this series.
Mm-hmm.
They don't all have to be this. It's like Sung's granddad. This is the only family that has ever done science. Anyway, this is not what this episode is about.
Would have been kind of funny just to have Brent Spiner as like random Klingons or like a Jem'Hadar 15.
Yeah, that would be great. He would have made a great Vorta.
Mm-hmm.
So they're contacted by Fajo, who doesn't know what happened. But they did barely get enough Hytridium to take care of the water problem, so they just need to leave and complete their mission, because there's nothing to do.
Yeah, well, bye. No, seriously, bye. Go away. Yeah.
So they leave, and Data wakes up in a large room full of displays of various rare things. Fajo and Vera enter, and Fajo just sort of geeks out about Data. He, like, snaps around. It's like, oh my god, he looks at things, and he talks. This is amazing.
Man, you're fantastic. I want to be your best friend.
So Data would like to know why he's been brought here. And Fajo explains that it's for my own personal enjoyment and appreciation. It will be catered to and taken care of and doted upon and appreciated. Data tries to force the door, which is impossible. It's a heck of a door.
Mm-hmm. Super door.
Thing that I also think is interesting, like, I know that these are spaceships, right? But often if you have like a super whatever reinforced door, you should try punching through the wall. Yes. No one ever attempts this. The door is only as strong as the wall it's in.
I'm reminded of some comments about one of the later episodes of DS9, like right at the end. They're like, well, we're trying to get into this bunker, but golly gee, the door is made out of neutronium. So, it's like, is the rest of the bunker made out of that
what's
same...
the rest of it made out of?
Same problem, different, series.
Fajo also has some sort of personal repulsor field that makes it impossible for Data to get close to him. He, like, runs at him and gets pushed back.
Oh, yeah, he's also a physicist? Oh, wait, that's just people running away from me.
No, you invented a repulsor field. Data still doesn't understand really why Fajo went to such trouble to kidnap him, so he gives him a tour. He has rare one-of-a-kind art from aliens and Dolly and baseball cards, complete with bubblegum smell.
Yeah, there's even like a hand puppet.
Yeah, the last of a very nearly extinct species of very, very ugly Muppet.
Yeah, but, Muppets need love too.
And now Data is one of his most prized one-of-a-kind treasures.
Mm-hmm.
The world's only sentient android, as far as you know.
Yeah, it's a good thing you didn't go after Lore. He's missing at this point, but still.
Mm-hmm. I think at this point, he's just like, oh, I'm not one of a kind. I'll trade you. Last time we saw Lore, he was next to this giant man-eating crystal. I should look over there.
Yeah, just, it's fine. The Enterprise is right next to it for a while. It's all good, right?
Yeah, don't worry. I'm sure you'll be fine. So Leslie and Geordi sadly go through Data's quarters, talking about how human he was and all of his character development.
Mm-hmm. Like
how he likes Shakespeare and poker. Geordi just can't get rid of the feeling that he's just sort of missing something about this whole shuttle accident, though.
What if the shuttle was possessed by an alien entity that was trying to create itself out of the various components of the shuttle's memory banks and systems?
And then it exploded and is dead now.
Yes. Yeah, because it's too small.
So Vera comes to give Data some clothes that Fajo wants him to wear. They're sort of drab looking. He's like, this uniform's ugly. Have this even more ugly outfit.
Well, I'm pretty sure at this point in, I guess, general galactic society, the ugliest dang clothes you could ever imagine are the it thing. So, I mean, just look at Wesley's sweaters. Come on.
I was talking about something like this the other day with some friends, and we all agreed that since fashion is very cyclical, like everything now is from the 90s, and everything a little bit ago was from the 80s, and etc. it would make sense for like you to just like randomly pick a decade and just put it on people in Star Trek, maybe with a few like updated doodahs. It's like everybody on this list just like dressed like 90s baggy clothes with weirder bands or even some retro bands, like made up band logos on their shirts and backward baseball caps.
And the weird thing about the shirts is that there's always these big circles on the shoulders that aren't really there for any purpose other than just to be circles on the shoulders.
Yeah.
So there you go.
There you are. Yeah, just take fashion from whatever decade you want and add some random crap to it. And it'll look way better than most of the stuff they do. So Data doesn't want to wear this outfit and has no particular reason to do so. Yeah.
Yeah. So, no, I like being in my Starfleet uniform. It keeps me nice and toasty.
He also starts to sort of subtly recruit Vera to his side, which is just like the best. It's like it's part of your programming to seek out vulnerability in your enemies. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. The important thing to remember in all of this is that unlike Fajo and his crew, Data doesn't need to do things like sleep and is able to wait them out effectively until, he gets an opportunity to free himself or contact the Enterprise or do any other thing to sort of foil their plans. And so it's more of a matter of time for the fallible people around him to be fallible.
Yeah, which I think it really speaks to how, like, they did a good job with the Fajo character because, like, this isn't going to work. That he has convinced himself that he gets whatever he wants and it's always going to work out because he's surrounded by yes men.
And, he's been successful so far, so obviously he's going to keep up the trend, right?
Though Geordi's still pissed they can't find anything wrong with the shuttle. The only explanation is pilot error, which is basically impossible.
Yes. A effectively perfect android making an error for some reason.
So Picard's supportive of Geordi continuing his investigation, but does need him to get ready for the main mission. So he and Riker go over to discuss this with Worf taking over ops from Data, because Worf basically just takes over from whoever just died.
And I guess it's a very Klingon sort of thing, though. So, he might be losing friends, and so he's going to feel bad about that. But, still kind of, it's like, oh, cool. This is like what I believe in, I suppose.
Well, later on, Troy catches Worf because, he keeps replacing dead crewmates. Worf goes, it's the Klingon way to honor his memory by doing his job as well as he would.
So, Worf, you have to compete with an android that can think 10 times faster than you could ever possibly imagine, and who is like way more strong physically than you will ever be. So
I just saw a clip of an interview with Michael Dorn where he was talking about the whole Worf effect thing, where Worf keeps getting beaten up every time an alien comes onto the ship. And he said he went to Roddenberry. He's like, why does Worf keep getting beaten up every time something comes in? It's like, it's because Worf is like the big strong guy, and like we want to show that this is like more powerful. So really it's just because you're such a strong, cool character. He was like, okay, fine. Why don't they ever try to beat up Data? He's supposed to be this like super powered android.
Yeah. Now I should maybe bring up here that Worf has obviously been at this position previously, a bunch during season 3, but also in an episode of Webster.
Yeah.
Yeah, the very last episode of Webster. The title character apparently like has a dream or something like that, and suddenly gets beamed up the Enterprise, and it's time for a clip show where he talks to Worf about like emotions and stuff.
Yeah, this is... I think that it's very difficult to convey to people who didn't grow up during this era of like late 80s, 90s television, just how fundamentally unhinged everything was.
Yes. Yeah, if you ever want to be just baffled, just continually, just watch 80s TV for a while.
I understand that we're in like the golden era of TV and streaming has allowed for like really, really long, complicated storylines and whatnot. But like, we've fundamentally lost the just insane low budget weirdness that used to make TV good.
Mm-hmm.
Now everything is just a really overlong movie.
Yeah. And so it's definitely a completely different animal than what folks are probably used to at this point.
So Fajo comes in and sees that Data has not changed into his new outfit. Tries to convince him that he'd be better off here because Starfleet is actually bad. But Data's an intensely moral being. He shouldn't be like dragged into Starfleet's conflicts and wars, etc.
Yeah, and you're gonna like have to go and murder lots of people, Data. And, you're against that, so hang out here, and I'll probably not murder anyone today.
Yeah, Data basically goes, "You kidnapped me, and I don't think you're one to be talking about morality here, bud."
Yes. That's always a funny thing when, you got a situation in physics or even reality where someone who has done obviously something terrible is lecturing everyone else about their morality. And it's like, come on, guy.
It works weirdly well for some reason. I don't understand why this whole I just killed a bunch of people, but if you killed me to stop me from killing a bunch of people, you'd be worse than me.
And then Captain Marvel just punches him.
Yeah. I think that's why people didn't like that movie, because she's supposed to have a big moral dilemma about it.
Like, no, you're awful. Smack.
Though Fajo gets what he wants anyway, because he just throws a solvent on Data's uniform that starts to dissolve. And goes, I would be perfectly happy if you wanted to hang out naked and show all of that, like, fully functionalness of yourself there. But
indeed. And in fact, in a cut bit from the episode, there was a side plot where, there was supposed to be some testing of that.
I'm kind of glad they left that out.
Yeah, me too.
So Geordi realizes that he did miss something with the shuttles. He plays back Data's recordings of the last few flights. They are all exactly identical, except for the last one, where Data doesn't follow proper protocol and report that the shuttle has cleared the docking bay.
So Federation is generally all about protocol, and Data's like way more than even that. So
Yeah.
This is our smoking gun.
Like he says, ordinarily, I'd just say, of course, they've done it 5 times. Nobody's that perfect. But, Data
is.
So Fajo is hosting one of his friends who also is a collector of things.
Mm-hmm.
And he tries to impress each other with various items they have acquired. Fajo keeps insulting Toph's collectibles. He goes do you have whatever with jewels? He's Ferengi's added the jewels later to make them look better. Silly man.
So, the original's better now. Ha ha.
Then Toph sees Data and goes, oh, you have a new thing, for all of 5 seconds, because Data fully refuses to move or interact.
Indeed, which is
he
kind
just
of
stands
brilliant.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even when he gets touched and falls onto a cushion really hard.
Well, that's convenient.
Yeah. It's kind of nice that he fell into a soft chair.
Yes. Now, Toph has this sort of funky face band thing that shows up later in Lower Decks, and I appreciate they did call back on that.
I'm going to talk about the Lower Decks thing, because I know Lower Decks is just intentionally referential, but I feel like they took the bite out of these guys a little bit.
A little bit.
So later, Fajo really wants to get Data to sit in his damn chair and cooperate. Data affirms that he has no intention of doing anything for Fajo, and he's going to thwart him at every opportunity. So Fajo gets a gun out of a wall safe that is a super, super illegal prototype gun called a Veron T Disruptor that is illegal because it kills people very, very slowly and painfully.
So I'm reminded of a movie called Tuned In. Are you familiar with that one?
No.
It's the one where John Ritter signs up for a satellite TV package that's run by a company that's apparently associated with Satan.
Oh, fun.
And gets pulled into the TV. So he does channel surfing, trying to not get killed. And eventually his wife gets pulled in as well. And one of them is each channel is like a different send up of something people would know. Like, this is the wrestling channel, or this is the channel where people are surviving on the Arctic and they're slowly freezing to death, or this is the old classic movie channel, so it's all gangsters and machine guns, and you need to keep watching out, guy. But one of them is, of course, a Star Trek sort of send up, and the big bad comes on the view screen and says, "Hello," and all right, everybody, target your captain and set your phasers towards to torture. I can't help but remember that section from when talking about how bad and awful this weapon is.
That sounds interesting. This thing has very bad rating.
It's, again, another one of those things. It's sort of like so bad it's good for in terms of my enjoyment of it. So it's like, yeah, this is pretty stupid, but yeah.
Yeah. It could be interesting. All right. Yeah. So yeah, it is basically set state phasers to torture and then kill.
Yeah. All in one.
So he has 4 of the 5 that were ever made. He keeps one under his pillow.
Yeah,
because
hopefully
he's that kind of person.
Yeah.
He calls Vera in and gets ready to execute her until Data sits in his chair. Because, he just finds whatever thing he needs to threaten to get people to do with the things that he wants.
Well, I guess if you have a weapon of the ultimate evil, it's one way to push people around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what? Threaten people? I think this is an interesting one. We're going to talk about Data's resistance stuff a lot here, but this one's kind of interesting. So, the Enterprise arrives at the colony, launches a probe full of hytritium to the water to clear up the contamination, which goes away immediately, which it really shouldn't.
Weird.
So, they beam down to a waterfall cave with some blue crystals in it. The crystals are apparently the problem, I guess, and they're not natural.
Someone has sabotaged this planet.
Yeah. They find it interesting that there's a really unusual contamination that popped up needing a particularly dangerous element that almost no one trades in, and they just so happen to find a guy who has exactly as much as they need.
So, seems that we may have been had. And luckily, we have the crew of the USS Enterprise as opposed to most everyone else who is probably less competent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, this cave, does it look familiar to you?
Yeah, it's like in 5 other episodes.
Yeah, it's the cave they went to in Captain's Holiday. And so, they just, filled up the bottom
they put
of
some
it
water
with
in it.
Yeah.
So they look up Fajo, which maybe they could have done earlier.
Yes. What's up with this guy?
Since literally all they need to do is, computer, tell us everything you know about Kios Fajo. They find out he's a famous and notable collector of rare artifacts. Probably not even legally. Makes them wonder about Data's disappearance. You could have put these clues together if you did even the slightest amount of research about the people you're trading stuff with.
But, he seemed trustworthy at the time, just guy showing up, like, hey, you looking for any super duper explosive materials? Oh, you are? Cool.
So Fajo's ship has a max speed of warp 3. So compared to the Enterprise, he has not moved.
Yes. We haven't really set out the full scaling of how warp works ever in Star Trek. But a general vibe is that, if you're going warp 1, that's like, from going between star systems, that's going to be like a year. If you're going, warp 2, it's going to be like 3 months. Warp 3, that's like a few weeks. So when you're going warp 9, you're careening through space, distance between star systems in like a couple hours. So, yeah.
Yeah, so they very obviously, I think it's kind of fun that they very obviously do not have ever a coherent, stable idea of how fast any of this stuff is supposed to be.
Just that there's some, scaling to it.
Well, with what they set up later, obviously way later, because they didn't get to a lot of this until Star Trek Enterprise. Warp 3, for someone who is like this type of trader, is useless.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he would have to spend years on this ship to do anything.
Which I guess would maybe imply that he only hangs out in a couple star systems ever.
Yeah, they're really close together. Because that's the entire conceit of Enterprise, is that it's humanity's first Warp 5 ship, which lets you actually go places.
Mm-hmm. And so you're just kind of putting around here in Warp 3. Yeah. Good job. Though there might be some weird technological factor that can make a Warp 3 of Enterprise era effectively Warp 5 of Enterprise era in speed once you include a bunch of extra technology, but still, that's going to be
something. Yeah, this is still before back when you could go Warp 14.
Mm-hmm.
They just
they
just didn't
hard.
Yeah, they don't care. I think the thing that you need to remember when you're online yelling at people about how little they know about continuity of things is that the people who made it don't care.
Yep. So make of it as you will, because there's not actually forethought in any of this.
I also like that they say that they're going to be able to find him because hiding is not good for business.
Yes. So if they for some reason couldn't find him, just put up a want ad for what else? What is he probably carrying? I don't know, stem bolts.
Yeah. Self-sealing stem bolts.
Yes.
So Vera comes in to save Data. Apparently being almost killed just to get someone to sit in a chair did not inspire loyalty.
Yes.
She opens up the safe and grabs the destructor because she's been around long enough that she knows the codes to everything. And they go to an escape pod that's in the cargo bay. She's getting things set up to launch, and as soon as they do, an alarm starts, and two guys show up. Yeah, one of them gets held up at gunpoint, the other sneaks up behind Vera and grabs her, making her drop the disruptor, so Data has to run out and rescue her by throwing both dudes across the room easily.
Hooray! Data's showing off that ultra strength that we talked about earlier.
But by the time they get anywhere, Fajo's arrived with the other disruptor that he keeps under his pillow and has a little bit of a time deciding to shoot Vera and then just dissolves her from the inside.
And it looks like a bad time for Vera.
It does.
So Fajo's like, well, this act, I feel
Data
bad.
grabs the other disruptor and points it at Fajo, who's now at gunpoint. But he's pretty calm, because he's like, Data won't kill me in cold blood. I'm not even holding my gun anymore. Haha.
Mm-hmm.
Data, just sit in your chair, and, if you don't entertain me, I'll kill somebody else, like that guy, and then I'll kill somebody else until you do that. Data goes, yep, this can't keep going, and as long as you're alive, you're going to keep doing these terrible things.
Yeah.
So he raises the disruptor just as the transporter grabs him.
Well, good timing.
O'Brien detects that there's an active weapon in the transport beam and deactivates it before Data appears. Riker welcomes him back. Data tells him to arrest Fajo for murder, kidnapping, theft, etc., etc., etc. He's like, yeah, we got it. We're getting him in right now.
Yeah, we're tractor beam and, beaming people around, all that fun jazz here. How you doing?
Yeah. Riker also goes, this gun was going off. Data goes, oh, maybe something happened during transport.
Yeah, maybe something happened.
And Riker and O'Brien just give each other this look.
Do we believe him?
And then finally, Data goes to visit Fajo in the brig. Fajo goes, you must enjoy this. I've been stripped of everything. And you just get to see me in a cage now. And Data says, nope, I cannot feel pleasure. After all, I'm just an android.
Dun, dun, dun. Wait. Now, this is this end scene here is one of the ones they did end up recording with Rappaport, and then they re-recorded with Rubinek. So you can do a one comparison between the two here. So
I think that this was one of my favorite episodes for a long time. Not just because Rubinek's one of my favorite actors, but also that does such a good job of setting up this really interesting resistance arc for Data, because he is fundamentally a non-violent creature. Data does not do violence unless absolutely necessary. He doesn't kill people. He's intensely moral. So they set up a lot of really interesting, good examples of stuff that's passive resistance.
Yes. Now, if you're going to be in a situation where you are expected to behave a certain way, one of the things you can do is not behave that certain way.
He just does basically, all he does is say no to the guy over and over. Like, it makes the guy so furious. Like, you basically win as soon as you tell them no, because these kinds of people just thrive off of power. So the second you take even the smallest amount away from them, you've already won something, and it's just going to get worse on them from there.
Indeed. This reminds me of something we talked a little bit about in Tank Girl about, just like this ridiculous person is demanding that you surrender, and you're just like, nah.
Yeah, this is the other part of that, because she was doing active resistance at the same time as the, as long as you don't admit that this guy's won, he's never going to win, because that's the thing he actually wants, is for you to admit that he has power over you. And when someone wants power over you, yeah, they can do a bunch of terrible things to you. It's certainly not going to deny that. There's really bad situations you can get into with that. But if you don't admit they have power over you, you're at the very least going to die knowing you ticked them the fuck off.
Yes. And if you can't do anything else, might as well do that.
Data's in a weird position, too, because he's, been valued so highly that he can't be harmed. So one of the things that I think is important, they have this, I think the first scene is a really good example of this kind of resistance that more and more people are talking about, but it's a really useful one to know, which is called working to rule.
That seems like an interesting term. What is it, Kepwin?
It means you work to exactly what they told you and not anything else at all. Because he said, I want you to wear this uniform and be shown to my friend. He didn't say interact. He didn't say talk. He didn't say do a little dance. He said, I'm going to show you to my friend.
Well, okay. I guess that is what I'm being forced to do. And so I will only do that. So it's sort of a malicious compliance thing.
Yes, it is basically malicious compliance. It's not exactly the same. There's a lot of overlap. But yeah, there's it's like if you have a job, you work to exactly what the job requires of you legally, from in a contract standpoint. And when someone says, why haven't you done this other thing? You're like, because that's not my job.
Indeed. There's a whole series of short YouTube videos I watched a few months back where it's basically exactly that. It's like, why have you not done this other thing? Well, because it's not part of my job and I was not requested to do that, so I did not do it. But you must. It's like, nope.
I forget all of the stuff. There was this argument thing someone was talking about a while back that there was a teachers union that was in a dispute, and instead of full on striking and shutting everything down, they just said, we're going to not do any extracurricular work at all. The stuff that we're not paid to do, we're going to stop doing it.
Yep.
No, we're not bringing in extra shit. We're not cleaning up things. We're not doing work outside of hours. All that we're just not doing it at all. And they caved immediately because the system cannot function if they're not forcing them to do a bunch of extra work.
So, maybe pay them for that extra work next time.
Yeah.
So, working for Faggio probably sucks. Even if you're not being kidnapped to do it.
Yeah, I think it shows that this is that whole, fear is better than loyalty, or fear is loyalty, or inspires loyalty thing. And it just shows, they do such a good job of setting this guy up, because he's fundamentally a little sniveling coward. He just, knows he can get himself into a power position over people, and he has the money and resources to do this. He's a really good critique of our modern billionaire types.
Yeah, someone who, it's like, I'm the one in charge because, never mind, anyway, I have the power, so I'm going to make use of it to make sure I remain in power and get more power. And even if it, no matter who it hurts, who it runs over, who gets killed in the process, I'm always pursuing that goal.
They do a really good job with the collections in this. I think that the collecting things, it's pretty immediately recognizable as a wealth display, but it goes along really well with Star Trek's future, no money society thing. Because obviously some people have something.
Yeah.
But other than having to explain why the Federation is working off a completely different economic system than literally the rest of the galaxy, you just have this guy who hoards stuff.
And, he's probably worked out that's like, oh, yeah, I might not be part of the Federation myself, but I work with them a lot. And so I know how to leverage their happiness and goodwill in order to extract the things I want. Basically abusing the goodwill of those around him.
They could have done a little more with this, but I see Fajo as sort of a counterpoint character to the general, utopian idea of a post-scarcity that you get with the Federation. Because he also has replicators and things. He also is he's in his post-scarcity society as well. He's obviously trading some of this non-replicatable stuff that magically seems to mean there's still an economy for some reason. But
the space hamburgers that people need.
Yeah. But this is kind of an interesting counterpoint because they keep saying that, without money, humanity just focuses on bettering themselves and making society generally better for everyone and learning and improving, etc., etc. This guy is using that same sort of ethos of, I don't have to have a certain amount of things anymore. I'm in a post-scarcity thing. And the thing that I want is just as much power over everyone else as possible.
A commodity that is, not really necessarily monetizable. And so it could still thrive here in a no money society.
Which, I get the joke that they were doing. I see why Lower Decks as a comedy show made the collectors kind of like their own essentially species, even though they aren't all the same species.
Like culture, sort of.
But as far as Star Trek goes, they're their own thing. They're now like an organized culture of just there are a bunch of these people who are called collectors and collect things. But it works so much better when it's not like they explicitly have a culture of collecting things. They're just rich douchebags. Yep. And rich douchebags do that kind of thing.
Well, I guess there's maybe a perspective that's maybe being put together for that bit in Lower Decks where it's like, oh, we don't understand them. Oh, it's like interacting with another culture, but no, it's actually just their douchebags. but
yeah, we don't understand hoarders in the future.
So, we have to sort of compartmentalize it into something, box it into something that makes sense to us. Oh, different cultures that, they don't make sense to us sometimes, or they have different ways of going about stuff. And, that's a thing that we've encountered before. So we're going to just label as that and make do, even though, that's not really the truth here.
Yeah, close enough.
Which I guess is maybe some interesting commentary on how Federation folks might be sort of a little naive in sort of interacting with people sometimes.
Yeah, I guess you could see it that way. I think that they just they didn't want to do the same kind of commentary, which is fair. But I think that they did take a little bit of the bite out of it because if they're just rich douches, it adds something to the way that they interact with people. I also think that there's a really interesting thing in here because Fajo tries to do this thing that I kind of hate doesn't get called out as much as it should. Where he's like, if you don't do the thing that I say, I'm going to kill this person, and then it's your fault. And it's like, no, it's not.
It's the line of an abuser, really.
This is still your fault. You're still doing the thing. Just because you said you're doing it because I'm not following your orders doesn't make me any more complicit in it than you are.
Indeed.
Which I think is really interesting because, Data complies with the thing strategically because he doesn't have a reason to push him that far yet. It's not a strategically advantageous position for him to be in, and he recruits himself an ally.
Yeah, it's
which is a good one because so many times we have exactly the opposite thing happen in storytelling. Someone does comply because they're like, oh, you're right, I'm basically killed them by not doing this thing. It's like, no, if you you go along with the stuff right up until you have the advantage and then you take them out.
Yes. Yeah, it's the difference between, trying to justify your own compliance versus complying to get an advantage to thwart your oppressor.
Yeah, which I think this works really well for the way they characterize Data, because overall, as a moral choice, if you have another option for like a longer term strategy that doesn't involve letting a bunch of people die, probably the better option. Because realistically, you could just let him kill people because he doesn't want to hurt you. And what's he going to do? If he kills off his entire crew, he's out of bargaining power and there's no one left to help him oppose you.
Indeed. But, that kind of sucks for everybody.
Yeah, it does.
The dead people and you and him, everybody loses.
Which I just think is an interesting way that they wrote this, because he is so obviously not bargaining from a position of power. He goes to such an extreme so quickly that he is very obviously not the one in control here. And he deludes himself into thinking he is, because he sees himself as a fundamentally immoral person, which should give him power over the moral people, because he's willing to do things that they just won't. But really, he just screws himself. Because even if he carried out the threat, even if Data had not complied and he'd carried out his threat, then what? There's no way to escalate at that point.
It's like, well, what are you going to do? Just do the same thing over and over again and hope I'll suddenly change my mind?
The Data recognizes in this the inherent power position of being the one that somebody wants something from. Because this guy wants something from you. Which means as long as you don't give it to him, you're the one with all of the power in the situation. And what he is trying to do is unbalance it again in his favor.
Indeed.
Which is always going to put him in a weaker position. And we don't frame it that way often enough. This guy is like in a weak, stupid position from the minute he comes on screen. And it's a testament to the writing and acting that comes through so well. Because he's like so sleazy and so overconfident in like his position of like, absolutely no power.
He's too confident to know that he is already lost.
Yes, he's so confident he doesn't recognize that he lost as soon as he decided that he could do this.
So I guess that's maybe something for our audience to remember, that having a little bit of perspective is important when it comes to the situations you get yourself into. I'm not recommending you try to kidnap anyone, androids or not, and try to put them on display. That's a terrible thing to do. Don't do that. But if you're going to be trying to get some sort of leverage on something or someone or whatever, make sure you're not just fooling yourself into thinking that you're just too much of a badass to lose.
Yeah, that's always bad. So I think one of the things that I probably like the most about the way this episode is written is this is another one of the episodes where stuff just mostly happens around the main character. Like, Data actually doesn't have a ton of agency in this episode.
No.
He makes strategic decisions to like resist as long as possible, but the rescue and stuff is other characters doing stuff around him. But that works out really, really well because it just emphasizes the fact that Fajo is the one who screwed himself. Like, this is there was no other way this was going to end as soon as he made this decision, because he's just an overconfident douchebag.
Yes. I guess, at the end, at some point, independent of what happens in between point A and point B here, or really point A and point Z, Fajo will probably die of old age. And then Data can look at the crew and say, your boss is dead, finally. I'm going to leave. Are you going to stop me?
That point, that would probably just be funny, because he'd probably just be sitting in the corner collecting dust and then like get up and it's like, holy shit, that moves.
I haven't worked there long enough. What is this thing? I am Data. I have been kept prisoner here for a very long time. I would like you to, escort me out of here so I can return to the Federation, because, well, I don't know if the Enterprise is still out there. Yeah.
The ending really emphasizes it too, because he wants so badly for Data to be just like him. And he denies him it because he's just, oh, well, you must be gloating over this because I would enjoy this. I would love to see my enemies brought low before me like this. And he goes, no.
No, that's not how I work. You don't understand me at all. Bye. I guess that is, in some ways, the last bit of resistance Data has is to just be himself.
Mm-hmm. Also, the logic of the thing at the end was like he wouldn't kill someone in cold blood, but like he's not.
Nope.
This guy's shown that he's willing to, like, him threatening to kill other people in order to coerce him is still doing violence towards him.
Yes. Yeah, just because someone's not hit you personally yet doesn't necessarily mean they have not harmed you. Another bit of advice from Watchers of Tomorrow.
Yeah. I do just like that, everybody on the ship is like, oh, yeah, he definitely was going to kill that guy. But, I mean, he had it coming, so let's just ignore that.
Yeah. It's like, oh, yes, if there's any reports to be written, there was some weird interaction between the transporter and this funky, prototype gun thing. So, yeah, don't worry about it. Mm-hmm.
So I think we've hit an interesting thing on this, because sometimes I struggle to find an interesting through line on episodes because they, don't say enough or they aren't super well written. No. I think this is kind of the opposite problem, where the episode speaks for itself so thoroughly, I don't know exactly what to add.
Yeah, the same thing. I've been thinking about this one all week, and like, there's like the obvious things to talk about, but can I go even beyond that? Because they're straight there. They're right there. They're easy to see. Come on.
I don't think this is completely applicable things. Right? This is a very specific situation. It's showing a very specific thing. And I'm not saying that a lot of terrible things cannot happen to people when you resist power structures like this. But there might be a good reason to take some lessons away from this right now. Some, particularly poignant, pretty similar reasons of complete douchebags who think they're in charge of things.
Mm-hmm. Or throwing their weight around and threatening people and threatening to do harm to people and, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and they can, and they will, and it all really sucks. Mm-hmm. But there's still some of things that you can learn from this kind of, like, not everything has to be, you're going to charge the gates.
Yeah. Some folks are not in a good position to charge the gates. They might be disabled, or they might be easily persecuted, or they might be, targeted even before they get anywhere near the gates. And they need to be taking care of themselves and those that they are responsible for.
There's actually this amazing thing that I just read. It was this Tumblr post that was, I think it was maybe, had a whole list of tweets or something. But the basic thing was a librarian talking about what they did during the time of Bush when the Patriot Act got put in. Mm-hmm. And for people who don't know explicitly, the Patriot Act was this really dumb, like, American safety bullshit thing. And one of the things that it let them do, theoretically, was make libraries give the government people's reading history so that they could see if they were reading anything that was un-American.
Did this person check out a
threat to society?
We have to be angry at them and can surveillance them now, and this is an excuse to do that.
So what the library did is get onto its, like, organizational charts and create a new position that was the Patriot Act compliance official. That spot was filled by anyone who had, the most recent person who had quit. Whenever someone left, they were listed as the new compliance person.
Excellent.
And when they called and requested documents, which they did, they just said, oh, that person just left and we haven't replaced them yet. They had all the passwords. We might have to get IT in and, like, reset the system, but it's a security thing. It'll take months probably. So do you still want to put this request in? Because I'll have to get IT in and reset our system, and you won't have it for weeks or months. And I don't know, is it worth it?
Excellent.
I think they didn't fill a single request that was put in.
Excellent. You are setting up your own systems to react appropriately to something that is ridiculous and unreasonable.
The start of the thing was, you got to watch out because librarians love working around bureaucratic systems. And
they tend to have the patience and experience doing it for various reasons in order to get things rolling the way they want to be. Help you.
So anyway, yeah, passive resistance is also a kind of resistance.
There's way more than we could ever talk about out there in terms of tips and tricks and how to resist various things, be they obvious oppressors or more subtle ones. And I recommend if you're looking to maybe not comply in advance, that maybe there is alternative ways to be moving forward here and to do your research. And this particular episode is one of the things I would suggest taking in, but it is not the end-all be-all. It is for a very specific sort of situation, and Data's pretty good at evaluating the situation he is in specifically in order to have an appropriate response. And I guess that's one of the sort of things that you need to figure out what the terrain is for you in particular, and to see what sort of things you can make best use of in order to make life better for yourself, those around you, and to, of course, foil those who are trying to, do you wrong.
Yeah, I really, really admire this approach that, so passive resistance that is so much that you really, really just tick off the other person immensely until they destroy themselves. Mm-hmm. I do personally prefer the Tank Girl one of blow them up while you're laughing. Yes.
But to each their own. Yeah. I guess Data was getting closer to that latter one near the end, just without the laughing.
Yeah, no laughing, which is even scarier.
The Data, is someone who can be ice cold if he wants to. Actually, even if he doesn't want to, really.
I thought he was warmer because they gave him skin responses and stuff. True,
but one can be warm physically, but cold as ice. I'm trying to make an ice cold killer joke here, but
Yeah, I see you. It's fine. Anyway, I think we ran out of things to easily talk about. I mean, we could go on about this stuff for another hour, probably.
Yeah. We could always talk about the hand puppet and or the cave set.
Thing was ugly. The thing was so ugly.
Like a bug sort of worm thing.
Yeah, I appreciate the hand puppet things, but that thing was just a sock with some feathers glued to it.
And I guess maybe we should at some point, maybe if we do another April Fool's episode at some point, Muppets of Star Trek.
Oh, that'd be great. I can't find the picture. I know that they have one in the first Alexander episode. They have 2 puppet things in a terrarium. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why. I found the names of the things. I just cannot find a picture anywhere.
Huh. Well, we'll be hitting those up at some point here, so a little opportunity for us.
Anyway, I might have to take some pictures.
Yeah,
because I cannot find this anywhere. I don't know why. Anyway, nobody has documented the Muppets. Why have we not documented the puppets?
I got a puppet wrangler friend who would be great to poke them about their ideas on what to talk about. So.
That'd be fun. Anyway, so now it's probably time for the Galaxy's favorite game show.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Galaxy's favorite game show. We're going to be resisting our usual impulses to be too punny here. This awkward silence is me, regretting trying to be funny there. Anyway, let's start handing out things here. Let's get this over with here. First off is the Grand Theft Me prize, which goes to Kiris Fazio as well as Data, because the former steals Data. Also, Fazio seems to have acquired a lot of things, probably illegal on top of Data, and maybe he's kidnapped people to join his crew at some point. It's a little ambiguous. But anyway, what do they win, Gepwin?
Fazio wins death masks. This has been a thing for ages. You take a face cast and you collect that. And then you don't have to collect the famous person.
Mm-hmm.
It's already established, and it's way safer.
Yes. You don't have to, break the law unless you're breaking into someone's tune. Anyway, or he could, collect, little figurines, toy trains, get himself an HO set scale, a train set. It'll be great. You can like show it off. It's like I built the Vulcan forge here, and I got a train going through it. I know it's not realistic, but Vulcans aren't really into trains for some reason. Anyway, we got this thing going.
This guy's got enough money. He's like, I'm putting together gun plots. Like, oh, what scale? It's like 1-to-1.
And he has a lot of options in order to, do something cool as opposed to just, be unoriginal and steal everybody else's creations. Or he could do what I do and find strange people on the internet and get them and give them money in order to exchange for art that they create. They could do that too. Anyway, our second prize is the Millennial Job Outlook Prize, which goes to Varia, because it would seem that she might become just a tool of her boss and, in order to try to get Data to behave, and, she's might get killed, and then she does get killed. Yeah, this job sucks, Varia. What does she win?
She wins the Millennial Job Outlook because she does still take her job too seriously. She needs to be in the back, chewing gum, twiddling with her hair. You're like, well, you wanted me to shoot him? I guess, sure.
Yeah, well, I guess I'm suddenly reminded of all those folks. It's like, no one wants to work. No, people are working. They are there. They've just gotten so tired of putting up with your crap.
When I worked retail, I had the theory of paid enough to care. Mm-hmm. Like, you can get away with a lot in different places because the people who work there have to be paid a certain level to care about what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. And if they're not, well...
I had a friend who worked at one of the school cafeteria places when I was in college, and he said that he wasn't paid enough to chase people.
Yep. So
if somebody just ran out with their food without paying for it, sometimes you'd throw an apple at them, in which case, free apple. Yep. But he wouldn't leave. He got penalized for leaving his kiosk.
So, he's, he would be less than paid in that case. So, well, that's another way you can fight back against crappy situations and crappy people, is to realize, oh, I'm not paid enough for this. Anyway, our final prize is the Berserker Button prize, sort of, which goes to Data, probably, maybe, as he realizes that there may be no other ethical way to get out of a situation without, killing Vajo. What does he win?
Data wins the Dune fighting techniques. He can't get to Fajo because of his repulsor shield. So, fast on defense, slow on attack.
Mm-hmm. The slow knife.
Gets you right through. Grab him.
Yeah. I guess it's the same sort of defense system that the Goa'uld use in Stargate there. So you could be all like, I'm going to shoot them, and oh, it doesn't work. I'm going to run at them too fast. Oh, it doesn't work. I'm going to go
basically
slowly reach up and strangle them. I
think it's just, I don't know, I have a lot of criticisms of the new Dune movies and shows that they even set that up, then they don't do anything with it. They have the weird dart thing that doesn't make any frickin' sense. And then they very obviously don't do any different choreography for the slow attacks. They just happen to turn the shields red in post-production.
So, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
It's part of the frickin' ethos. The entire series is about political maneuvering and outsmarting people, and they invented a reason for a fighting system that involves maneuvering and outsmarting people rather than just getting them with brute strength.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're just like, what's cool? Stabbing people.
Stabbing people gets all the raves, gets all the people in the seats. So more stabbing, please. But it doesn't work with us. It's going to, one way or the other, says us, the executives at the studio.
Anyway, I'm not going to get mad at the Dune movies again. Yeah.
And that's all I got here today, Gepwin. Feel free to take us away.
Yes, thank you for putting up with my weird side rants. This thing that we call the Galaxy's Favorite Game Show. So,
yeah. Recurring characters.
Next time, we have a fun guest character that they have because the original fun guest character that they wanted had been in movies and is too expensive.
Indeed. So let's borrow somebody else, somebody who's cheaper.
Yeah. So next week's episode is called Sarek. It involves Sarek, and Mark Leonard returns to guest star as Sarek.
And I suspect the plot might involve Sarek.
I mean, no, weirdly enough, he's not involved at all. He's
just there.
They named the episode after him. They got him on as a guest star, and then that's it. At some point during the episode, somebody just says, like, hey, it's Sarek. And then you're like, haha, they said the name.
Name drop.
Otherwise, it's a show about intergalactic dog breeding scandals.
Obviously.
Yeah.
And
they have to go to the Westminster Planet's dog show.
Which, for some reason, has a big vat of goo.
Yeah, just goo. And there's a lot of disagreement about how many legs should be on a dog.
Mm-hmm.
Because some of them have 2 and some of them have 8. And they're like, but we used to have dogs with 4.
So can we get back to that? No, we're not allowed to.
Yeah, we've done this is the breed. This is the 8-legged breed. It's in the documents.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the 4 legs going down. Yes, you might be thinking about that, but there's also 4 legs going up. So it can walk on the ceiling.
You just it's the mirror dog. And so it can, do flips.
Mm-hmm. And it's always right side up, no matter what you do.
Yeah. Anyway, this next episode is fine fundamentally, and I don't have a lot to say about it right now, which is why we just made all that up.
It gives Patrick Stewart a chance to do some acting.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, it was. I'm not going to criticize it too much, but yeah, they do have like a whole scene that's just capital A acting.
Mm-hmm. There's a good reason for it for the plot, but
there is. That's fine. I just
a little weird.
I don't love it. It's not bad. I'm never going to say he's a bad actor, but it always just looks so weird when an actor is like, you need to act sad now, 100% out of context and playing off of nothing.
Yep. All right. Well, I'll see what I can do.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. Great. Now we get a freaking 10-minute long take of him getting to just act because I'm an actor.
Acting.
It's like, I guess, I don't know. I'm just glad everyone is having fun.
Yes. Which sometimes that's all you can do with Star Trek.
But anyway, next time, acting.
Acting. Next time on Watchers of Tomorrow, finally aged Vulcan. You have been listening to Watchers of Tomorrow, a podcast on science fiction media. Find and follow Watchers of Tomorrow on Podbean, YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Pocket Cast, Spreader, Digital Podcast, and perhaps many more to come. If you enjoy our podcast, make sure to subscribe for more. And where possible, make sure to rate your experience or leave us a review. You may find Gepwin on youtube.com/Gepwin and Twitter @Gepwin. You may find me, Dr. Isix, on youtube.com/Dr. Isix and Twitter @IsixLP. Music is Waveform and Mori's Principle, both by DRKRN. You can also check out the Watchers of Tomorrow Discord channel. Make sure to share the experience with your friends, family, enemies, and alien overlords. If you feel you are suffering from transporter syndrome, please be aware that the next time you step off the transporter, that you, that is now, no longer exists.